Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Ask Humber. My name is Paul Vanderberg. I'm one of the student recruitment officers here at Humber. Thank you for joining us. So before we get started, I just wanted to go through a few housekeeping items. If you require closed captioning or if you'd like to use it, you can find those features at the bottom option bar at the bottom of your screen. And you can also head over to our Humber YouTube page to like and subscribe. Lots of ways to connect with us. Lots of future events are going to be held there as well. If you have questions throughout the session, please just use the chat. We have a team in the background. I'm monitoring it here, so if we can ask your questions live, we will. But today we are very lucky to have Susan Cates with us. Thank you for joining us, Susan.
My pleasure.
So Susan's the program coordinator for our Entrepreneurial Enterprise Business Management Graduate Certificate. So we're going to explore that program today. Susan, could you start off just by giving us a bit of information about yourself and your background?
Sure. So I've been an entrepreneur. I've had a number of businesses, but I've also worked in the corporate world. When I was in the corporate world, it was quite clear that entrepreneurship is really what I should be in. And I joined Humber in 2014 and became the program coordinator in 2021 and have watched the program grow and transform over the last number of years.
Amazing. And for the program itself, again, it's Entrepreneurial Enterprise Business Management Graduate Certificate. Who is this program designed for? What's your ideal student?
Well, I sort of like to think of three different types of students. It could be someone who's thinking about starting a business. They might not have an idea, but they think, somewhere along the line, I'd like to figure something out. We do a lot of sort of problem solving so that people who are in that situation can actually find something for themselves to do. Secondly, for someone who's actually interested in scaling an existing business, they might have started something, but they just don't know how to take it to that next level. Is perfect. Or someone who, what we call entrepreneurs, those who want to make a change within their organization, but want an entrepreneurial mindset so they can figure out, how do I take this business, make a difference within my business, and actually make a change. And then hopefully they will get a promotion as a result of that.
Exactly. That's really exciting because I don't think there is other programs like this in Ontario. Can you expand on that?
Yes, absolutely. Currently, there is no other program like this that's online for working professionals. So it was really designed for working professionals, those who don't want to give up their day job, because usually someone who's in that entrepreneurial space needs an income, right? So they can't give up their day job. So this is a perfect opportunity. And literally there is no other school at the moment that is offering something like this at the postgrad level.
Amazing. So can we talk a bit about the structure of the program? How long does it take? How are the classes versus the work integrated learning?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, it is online. I think we're looking at sort of 6 to 9 in the evening.
Gotcha.
It's synchronous, asynchronous. If people don't know what that means, they should by now since COVID.
Yeah.
But it means that some of the lectures will be online and some will be recorded in advance so that they can listen to the actual lectures.
Right.
And it's actually a 3-semester program with the third semester actually being an internship semester.
Gotcha.
Okay. In the internship semester, the students can actually work on their own businesses. And that's the goal.
Right.
That's really the goal. So it's all sort of building up to that third semester where you can actually launch.
Yeah.
Or you could actually, for example, if you are working within your organization, we could actually look at that as an internship and what are some of the changes that you're making within that organization.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point because a lot of people come to school and they think that they're going to have to work for someone else, and in some cases they might, but for this program specifically, they can actually work for themselves while getting school credit at the same time.
Absolutely. And then the only thing that they have to do is just create some milestones that, I kind of monitor, and then they can launch.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit about just some examples of industry of how entrepreneurial knowledge or education has helped maybe CEOs or anything like that?
Absolutely. So just kind of going back to the previous question, one of the things that's really good about this program, it's very comprehensive. So you will learn all the things that you need to learn in order to start a business or be in a business and scale it.
Right.
Or again, like I say, make some changes within your organization. So you learn marketing, finance, you've got market research, because that's really critical. You've got HR, you've got some computer skills. There's lots of things that you learn within the program.
Mhm.
So what's really fascinating too is, there have been founders out there that have actually taken something like an entrepreneurship program like this and have actually launched.
Right.
One in particular is Phil Knight from Nike.
Right,
He
yeah.
actually did an entrepreneurship program, and look at what he's been able to build. And he actually built a business plan back in entrepreneurship school when he was doing entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And he took that, and once he left the university, that's when he actually started to look at how to launch his business.
And that business became
Nike.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes.
And I think just goes to show that an idea can turn into a lot of different steps, which can turn into a massive corporation.
And I'm sure I can find lots of other examples.
Of course.
It just happens to be one that I'm very familiar with at the moment.
Amazing. So my next question is, what kind of courses, or you actually did discuss this a little bit. So you mentioned that students will do marketing, a little bit of finance,
Yes.
kind of all of the above. What if a student is coming from a marketing background? What if they did marketing in school? What options do they have?
So there's something called a PLAR, meaning that they can actually get credit for the learning that they've already had. So they might be exempt for that particular course if they want to take it, because the nice thing about marketing is that it's constantly changing, and
Right.
AI being a really important part of
course.
it. So you might not want to do that, but if you say work in that space and you're already learning about AI within your day job, you could do it. Or if you're in finance, or if you're in HR and you've been thinking about these things, you can actually be exempt from those courses.
Amazing.
And again, that's something that we discuss when you get registered into the program.
Amazing. And then we do have the transfer team as well to process it. But if someone is interested in learning more about PLAR specifically for this program, would you like them to contact you? Or
Absolutely.
Okay,
I think it's the best to contact me directly.
perfect. And then we'll mention it later, but
Yes.
just so I don't forget, the email would be
Susan.Cates with S at the end
perfect.
at humber.ca.
And I think our producer, John, will put that in the chat too if he has a moment. Thank you for doing that. And
Of
if I
course.
don't remember, please
I will.
keep me honest.
I will.
So you did touch upon this a little bit. For someone who's already working in a small business, the courses are online. Some of them are synchronous, some of them
Yes.
are asynchronous. Is it possible to study part-time?
It's not really a part-time program,
Okay.
but one of the other things that I think is really great about this particular program, because we really wanted to identify what is it that someone who's a working professional needs
Mhm.
and what don't they need. And we kind of modified the program so things like tests and quizzes have
Right.
been removed, and it's more experiential. There's more coaching, there's more mentorship that we do.
Makes sense.
So we're actually helping you really build that business very customized towards what it is that you want to do.
Amazing. And then for hands-on learning opportunities, can you talk about pitching, maybe
Yes,
incubators, things like that?
absolutely. So one of the things that I'm very big on is really learning how to pitch,
Mhm.
because in the world of entrepreneurship, you really need to know how to sell your business.
Right.
Okay, so in all the courses that we take, there's always sort of a pitch, not a pitch competition, but there's a pitch exercise that you have to do. You'll have to do presentations. You have to learn
Right.
that skill.
Yes.
And the other thing that's really fascinating about the program, and I've seen this before, is sometimes students find co-founders within their program.
Right.
So they actually, find someone else within the program
That's
that wants
awesome.
to do the same thing. In addition to that, one of the things that I like to do, and again, depending on the students' availability, I actually take students to various workshops, and I take them to various events that are all about startups.
Oh, wow.
So I take them to like the small business forum that the City of Toronto puts together.
Sure.
And last year it was related to food. There's also Elevate that we can go to.
Mhm.
There's other startup types of events that I encourage the students to go to. Another one that I've taken the students to where they can get funding is something called Futurepreneur. And then they learn about how they can get some financial aid if they need it when they start a business.
Right.
So these are some of the extras that we do in terms of workshops. And then in addition to that, there's going to be a class where we're going to bring in successful entrepreneurs
Sure.
and talk about how do they get to that success so they can inspire the students. And it's also great for networking.
Yeah, and I think networking is a huge part of a lot of our programs, but
Yes.
especially programs in this field or things like film and television, all these different
Exactly.
areas. It's so important, and it's a
Exactly.
skill that you can learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we discussed the kinds of students who would be a good fit. You mentioned the 3 different
Yes.
areas that you usually focus on. Do those students need to have a business idea coming in, or can you explain?
Absolutely not. One of the very first things that I do in one of the classes that I teach is I ask the students, it's called 99 Ideas.
Okay.
And in 99 Ideas, I ask them to problem solve. Think about problems that exist in the world and how could you build a business around it?
Right.
And it's a really exciting exercise because I get the students to think about things that need to be solved because business is really about solving
Yes.
problems. And most businesses, by the way, started by solving a problem for themselves.
Right.
I'll give you another example. Ways.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
In Ways, one of the ways Ways got started was the gentleman who was the co-founder and founder of Ways. He was stuck in a traffic jam.
Right. Okay.
And it happened to be in Israel, but he was stuck in a traffic jam. He said, there's got to be a better way to get out of this.
Right.
And so he developed Ways and figured out through programming
Yeah.
on how to create a way to get out of the traffic jams and create new pathways to
Amazing.
get to where they needed to be. And by the way, Waze is now Google Maps.
Right.
He sold it for billions.
Yeah.
Another very exciting example. So you never know what might happen.
And instead of being frustrated with that
Exactly.
issue you're having,
Exactly.
you solve it.
You solve it.
And then solve it for a bunch of other
Exactly.
people.
And most businesses start with a problem that you personally have.
Right.
That's usually how it gets started.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about the supports that Humber offers, not just as students are with us, but after they graduate. Can you talk about any sort of supports we offer?
Absolutely. So we have the Longo Center for Entrepreneurship, which offers pitch competitions. They have the BMO Launch Me. So in fact, you have up to 2 years after you graduate to actually be in the pitch competition. And I'm very proud to say that I've had quite a few of my students who have won.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I had one of them won first place and a couple of them won second and third, and they actually win money.
Yeah.
So they win anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 to up to $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had actually 2 students. One of the students that I've had in the program won $10,000, and she had an incredible idea. If you don't mind me sharing.
Please, yeah.
Okay, so she had worked in the foster system.
Okay.
Because she was a youth and child care worker.
Mhm.
And she saw that Black children were being put into homes where the foster home did not understand the uniqueness about the
Sure.
children's hair. So she developed a doll that uses real hair, and they actually can go into these foster homes and they take the doll with them and actually develop, learn how to play with hair. So she started that when she was here at Humber. That was the idea. She was sort of not clear as to how to do that.
Yeah.
By the way, it's in the Longo Facto Business Dean's newsletter.
Okay.
And she's won an awards for this particular idea.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And again, just a problem that needed to be solved.
Yeah.
And she saw some way to do it. And she's still working on that business.
And it might not have been solved for her when she was a kid, but
Exactly.
she is now changing lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she went to the BMO Launch Me and she actually won in the competition.
Wow.
So that's an excellent place for those who are thinking about, what can you do next? In addition to that, there is also something called ICE, which is Innovative Creative Entrepreneurship, I think it's what it's called. And that is a summer program that students can actually take part in, and they actually get funding for that. Yeah, so again, there's lots of other kind of places within the Humber community that they can go to get support.
Yeah, and just to clarify for anyone listening, the CFE, the Center of Entrepreneurship, is available for students in all programs, but it's such a perfect fit for your graduates and your current students as well.
Exactly, because a lot of them develop their businesses within the entrepreneurship
Sure.
program, and then they take that and then they move it into the BMO Launch Me, or they go into the ICE.
Yeah, and then they run with it.
And then they run with it.
That's incredible. So this is a graduate certificate, which means you do need to have a diploma, advanced diploma, or degree in order to qualify for this program. For a student who may be listening who doesn't already have an undergrad credential, do you have any suggestions on other Humber programs they could start with?
Sure. I think the business management program would be ideal, and maybe even the business administration program. Either
Gotcha.
one of those two, I think, are ideal. Not to say that there might be some others that they
Of
might be
course.
interested in, but I think those two. But what else could they be thinking about? Let's just say they wanted to do interior design or
Sure.
carpentry or something like that. That could be another sort of pathway,
Yeah,
you know?
that's such a good culinary. Any of these
Culinary.
areas, you're just
Yeah,
building your own business.
exactly, exactly. If you've ever sort of thought about maybe, having a catering business, doing the culinary program, or even the events management, like in the undergrad, in hospitality. So there's basically, anything. We'll teach them the business skills when they come into the program,
Right.
because some of them come in with no skills, or that, like I have it. I've had engineers, I've
Right.
had architects.
Yes.
They don't necessarily have those business skills. You can learn. We can teach that. But like I said, there's just so many. But certainly, if someone is sort of coming out of high school and they're thinking,
Exactly.
what are they thinking? Thinking that they might want to do a business program. Business management is
Yeah.
certainly ideal.
But thank you for saying that, because I think it's very important for folks to know that regardless of what you studied previously or what you plan to study, this can be a really great option.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So up next, I just wanted to learn more about pathways. So we talked about the pathways or the options to get into the program. There is a pathway through Jamik University in Finland to complete your MBA, your Master's of Business Administration in International Business Management from this program. Students actually get, I believe, approximately 90 credits to go towards it.
Yes.
For students who may be interested in getting their master's, maybe a good option, but what other things are students doing right after they graduate?
So some of the things that they do, which is actually, by the way, that's an excellent opportunity for students that are thinking about it, because I have had students who say, you know what, I'd love to get an MBA because I think that would give me some more credibility,
Sure.
if that's what they're looking for. Most business people don't necessarily need that, but it's a good pathway. But there's other things that you could do. There's lots of incubators, there's accelerators, there's other kinds of opportunities within the government services that they can actually be taking advantage of. So yeah, those are actually excellent opportunities. There's Next Canada, there's Y Incubator, there's DMZ. Like there's a whole bunch of them that they can go into, and
Amazing.
and then they can actually get funding.
Wow.
And help them, and they get mentorship. And there's actually not only in Canada, but they can actually move into the US if they so desire, and there's ones even in Europe.
Amazing.
Yeah.
For folks who are interested in learning more about that pathway, you can head to our Explore Pathways tools or click Explore Pathways on the program page. And I believe essentially you're able to get that specific master's degree in about 2 semesters added.
Yes.
But as Susan just mentioned, there's so many different options for graduates of this program. So there's lots to explore while you're in school and after you finish. So we're getting closer to the end. I just wanted to ask you if there's one word if you could boil all of this down into one single word for this program, what would it be?
I would say game changer.
Okay.
I really believe in that. I'm a big believer in that, but big believer in lifelong learning to begin with. That's number one. But I know when I went back and did an MBA, I didn't do a postgrad, but it's the same idea.
Sure.
It was a game changer. It changed my pathway to a career and a mindset that is just amazing. And because we open up your mind to think differently, to think in an entrepreneurial way, and to really see how you can make an impact, no matter whether you do it for your own business or for someone else's business.
100%. And I think change maker could be in there as well, just of people finding issues and coming up with solutions.
Absolutely.
And using industry to do so.
I love that too. Yes.
Okay, so my last question here, and again, if you have questions in the chat, feel free to jump in. But I have noted that this program is starting online in January 2026.
Correct.
So for folks who are interested in applying, there's still some time to apply,
Yes.
absolutely. So if they're looking to apply, what's the next steps? Where can they go to learn more?
Well, number one, they can certainly go to humber.ca and go to the programs page and find something about the program. But secondly, they can actually contact me. And
Wow,
I'd be
okay.
more than happy to talk to them about the program, some of the opportunities, and get into a little more depth about sort of the actual structure of what they would be taking.
Yeah, and then especially if you have questions about possibly getting a PLAR as well, you'll
Absolutely,
reach out
yes.
to Susan. So maybe, let me just do a quick check to see if there's any specific questions, any clarifications that folks are asking about. I don't see anything in the chat. If you do have questions from the pre-recorded session, obviously you can email Susan, or if you just have general questions about Humber, not maybe specific to this program, I would just ask you to email student.recruitment@humber.ca. That's a great place to go. That'll come back to me and my team, and we'll either answer your questions or point you in the right direction. But Susan, I just want to say a big thank you for taking the time out today to speak with us and all of our audience. Any last minute thoughts you wanted to add?
I just think that this is for anybody who's really thinking about starting a business and needs some help in order to be successful. Because lots of people like me, I started a business with like literally not knowing what I was doing.
Sure.
Failed many times,
Yep.
by the way. And I really wish that I would have known about a program like this back in those days, because I think it would have helped me, be successful faster.
Amazing. And we all could hope so much for ourselves. So that's incredible. Again, thank you. And thanks everyone for joining. I hope everyone has a great day.